Where were you when the lights went out in New York City? I'll tell you what, I was not making love. I was not even born yet. But that is one of my favorite looting stories of all times. And not just because I love disco, though I do not trust anybody who does not like disco or funk. I'll say that. But yeah, welcome to my channel. My name's Tatami. Here I talk about whatever I want to, and if you haven't guessed, today looting is on my mind. And when I say looting, I'm referring to the concept of taking advantage of a chaotic situation that no one really saw coming and trying to come up, in a sense, during so through sometimes illegal, always immoral means during this time of panic, strife, natural disasters of some sort. And so usually when we think of looters, we're told to think of people who take advantage of blackouts or flooding or, what have you. And this can be for things that they need and things that they don't need, right? It can be for things like food, water. For some reason, it's not always considered just surviving in a chaotic natural disaster situation. It's typically called looting, especially when people of color are doing it. And it can also be for things that you could sell afterwards for profit, or that you could use to upgrade your home environment, such as a TV, sneakers, etc. And looters aren't usually seen in the best light by the media. However, I feel as though I've been witnessing a sort of looting that is socially acceptable, or I guess it's just under the radar. It happens so often, or we just don't question it when it comes up. But I personally have no problem with people who loot the grocery store. I have no problem with people who loot the Nike store. I have no problem with it. I understand poverty. It's bigger than basic conversations in black and white and good and all. And that's why I know I am watching major corporations in America loot the bailout. Try and get more during a chaotic situation such as a pandemic, so that when this is all said and done, they can either come out the same or on top, or with minimal ass losses, without ever really digging into their own bank, into getting a loan or what have you for themselves. And this is what I mean. How does Bezos have the damn nerve to ask for anything from anyone when he could single-handedly take care of every employee in his company comfortably until this whole thing was over, and not really even have to worry about his wealth or situation personally? How he dares consider putting himself into that bailout money, it blows my mind that the richest man on earth, whose workers have reported they don't even feel like they can go to the bathroom without suffering consequences while on shift, would then ask for a bailout. We have the people who own Boeing, that fucking plane that one of them falls out of the sky every other year. They can't even make an airplane that flies in the sky and stays there and then goes down when you ask it to. They were one of the first people with their hand out. And then there was talk in the media of some kind of stipulations, and they were like, oh, if those stipulations come, we'll figure out another way. We'll pull out the strings. We'll do what it do. I'm like, honey, why are you not doing what it do right now? Why are you asking for money if you don't need it? If you can choose another way, if you'll manage some other way. I don't understand how those people deserve money. And yet, and still, our whole government is just in there arguing over pennies, arguing over how many pennies to give the peasants, because we may get a couple extra 100 bones and woo, we may never go back to work again because none of us have any goals beyond that basic getting of a couple $100 every once in a while. That's our main goals in life. And so if we got that from the government once in a paycheck, oh my goodness, I am just boggled. There's like no, and the best part is there's not really any rules as much. They're trying to see how poor we are, have us prostrate ourselves to show how poor we are, how much we deserve to get that little bit of money. But there's not really that many stipulations for which company. The company just has to be like, it's affected me. I've lost sales. And how is Amazon even losing money? Like, everybody's buying shit on Prime. Prime is useless. I paid for Prime. Prime is 7 days out. And I've been paying for Prime since the inception of Amazon. I'm half the reason this dude makes half the money he did, because somehow I had an Amazon account back when it was before it was even Amazon. And this fool is really, y'all, this is just too much. Why doesn't Bezos have to show what he needs the money for? Why does he need the money? Where are your massive sales, sir? My son was just crying because his sister ate his porridge. I was like, don't cry, like, I'll just make you more. Okay, so I forget exactly where I was in that tangent, but my whole point is just that these people clearly haven't exhausted their options. They can clearly get loans. The average working person, what is it, like 2 weeks after you have a check that is from your job, you can't even really get a loan. So there's just really no options for the average person, whereas there's a billion options for these other people. It just looks like looting to me, but for some reason they're being encouraged to, during a time of strife, just be like, ooh, time for bailouts. I guess I'll go ask for my cut. And that's encouraged. Why is my lip all like dry? Oh, I don't know what's happening. Oh my God. Okay. No, but for real, there's serious looting. Like, I don't care if the average person loots, like, during times of struggle, and, you know, because there's actual punishment, too. That, you know, that night in New York City, something like 5,000 people the next day got arrested. A bunch of people did come up, though, and it did go on to change, you know, street fashion history, music history, culture, all sorts of things, when people get access to things they normally wouldn't have access to. But, you know, these people who actually have options, who are not just like an average person, I don't see how corporations are able to just show up and get their check. And it's all cool. And there's no hoops to jump through. There's no explanation. There's no show us all the options you exhausted before this point. There's no even real accountability. Like, you absolutely under no circumstances may fire all these people, lower all these wages, etc. There's no real stipulation for how it's spent. It's just kind of given, and we have to, like, y'all, the cruise lines are asking, or like we're gonna try and ask, when half of them aren't even they're like not even signed up through the United States. They're not even really a United States company. They're signed up with random countries around the world because it's cheaper. But then they're like, we're somehow an essential commodity that needs to be bailed out. How? Where? Why? Where's all the money you've been making while you've been skimping on people's wages, polluting the seas, in like, you know, basically helping spread the disease way further than it should, still running cruises way after the pandemic had already been outbroken months in, people still, how are there still cruise ships with people on them? How do these people get on cruise ships after January if y'all weren't letting them do it? It's absurd. I don't understand it. There needs to be rules about the real looters, the people who are looting millions when there's no, they haven't earned it. They're not essential. They could survive without it. Plus, what happened to capitalism? What happened to, like, ooh, you lost. That's the market. It looks like the market just swallowed you up. One day you're in and the next day you're out. Wasn't that supposed to be what capitalism was? Isn't that what all the diehard capitalism? Oh, I hate socialism. These things shouldn't pay for that, blah, blah, blah. But now suddenly we got bailouts left and right. People wanting to get paid. And it's like, but there's no money for the people with cancer. There's no money for these old folks, but there's enough. Don't worry, there's enough tests to test every basketball team, every member of every basketball team, despite most of them having no symptoms. But there's just not enough for the rest of us. There's not enough ventilators. Pray there's enough ventilators in your local area, because you're not important enough to save. And no, didn't I make a video about F the old folks? They're saying F the old folks. I could sense it weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, this last few days, a whole bunch of videos coming out like they're saying sacrifice your grandma. I was like, they then said that. They were clearly implying it 3-4 weeks ago. If you thought you were going to be taken along for this ride, like, no. They're not going to step up and do the right thing. This isn't one of those moments in history. This isn't a movie. This isn't Hollywood, where the best of America comes forth and shines at the end. This is going to continue to be a shit show. And it's sad because people are really dying and they don't know where to turn. There's nothing you can really do but just keep chugging along as like a cog in the machine. Meanwhile, some billionaire out there is plotting how this is all just going to make him richer and better in the end. And fuck your grandma. Fuck you. You know, because there are people our age, you know, there's people, babies, kids, teenagers dying, and it's not cool. And yet we have like, we're having these, they're bailing out companies. They're scared for the economy. The poor people have no money to spend. And they're scared for the economy? Make it make sense. It don't make sense. It don't make sense. This is a looting situation that upset me. I did not like how this was written down in history. And I hope you are taking care of yourself and yours, taking those extra precautions, taking it mad serious, because there's not a lot of hope for everybody else out here. We've got to take care of ourselves. We've got to be smart. We've got to, you know, put in that work, disinfect all that shit. I've been trying to clean my house hella hard lately, just because, like, I don't know. I don't even know, you know, and my husband has to go back to work soon. So he's going to be in and out, bringing in who knows what. So I'm going to have to try and create a system to make sure he's not dragging anything in and around the house. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, after that really sad rant about the sad state of this world, the sad state of the richest, most powerful country in the world, literally falling to pieces and showing its full ass, and, you know, showing how little most of us matter in this system. Capitalism, y'all, it's failing the better part of people on this earth, and you and I are included in that. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and thank you so much for joining me today.